the way that we help people change, the way that I've found, is not by telling them that I'm the best at helping people lose weight, not that I have the best tools. It comes down to literally sales skills is what I found, sales and marketing.
So you have a passion for fitness and the desire to start your own business, but launching a massively successful fitness business is extremely complex. The systems, operations, hiring, firing, coaching, sales, and marketing are critical to success. Where do you even start? This show will give you the answers. Here is Bedros Keuilian and Bryce Henson, your hosts of the Fitness Franchise Podcast, a show dedicated to helping fitness entrepreneurs launch and grow successful gyms.
All right, friends, welcome back to another incredible episode of the Fitness Franchise Podcast. And before we get to today's guest, I want to give you a friendly reminder to give us a like and subscribe on YouTube and write us an awesome review on iTunes. That way we can keep producing this content for you for free. So now today's guest, who's a dear friend of mine, who's a fitness expert, but previously was an obese guy, transformation story, nearly lost 100 pounds, and with that inspiration has started his own fitness coaching program called Find Your Total Health, who's also the host of Losing Weight Podcast, Mr. Rusty Osborne. Welcome to the show.
Bryce, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Dude, super excited to have you, and shoot, in between traveling trips, we were just talking offline, but got a lot of fun stuff to get to. But my first question for you, our audience will love the backstory. Give us that.
The backstory. So I'd always been a fat kid my whole life. I was just a fat kid. I could eat more than you, and then once I was old enough, I could drink more than you, and that's just the way that I lived. Was overconsumption was just kind of a lot of what happened. And I was a musician for years, full time, playing gigs at the bars all the time. The booze is free, the food is free, all that kind of fun. And so I ended up just obese, and at 235 pounds, it was rough to see myself every night in the mirror and just like look at myself and see that I did it again. Like I had that much food again, or I had that much booze again, and I just kept going down this rabbit hole. And a lot of other obese people can resonate because, like, totally. How many times do you want to look in the mirror and see that, right? And so I'd been down that path for so long, and I didn't want to stay there, but eating was the thing I was best at. Like when I was growing up, my brother was better than me at video games or sports, or everyone around me just seemed to be good at everything else except for eating. Was like, I could do that.
You dominated.
I dominated. Yeah, I was a champion. I did competitions and like having 30 tacos in one sitting and then going out to party afterwards and gnarly stunts like that, which of course leads to obesity.
Totally.
And so I was in that for so long, and I didn't want to be. So I start figuring, okay, well, what do healthy people do? Right, well, they walk, they run. Mm-hmm. I see healthy people running on the beach over there. Mm-hmm. So let's give it a shot. So I start walking, I start running. I do 5Ks, half marathons, full marathons, get into even a couple ultra marathons, and running up and down these mountains out here in California. And but I'm still fat, so I ended up injuring myself at that point.
And how old are you about at this time?
This was, when I was doing that, about 25.
Okay, mid-20s.
Yeah, mid-20s. And so still overconsumption though, right? Because that's just going from eating so much and still drinking so much, but also running too much. Mm-hmm. And so this pattern continued until I was too injured from running so damn much that I had to figure something else out. And in this couple days after I injured myself from an ultra, I had a gig that we were playing, and normally the gigs that we play were like 9 p.m. to 1 a.m., right? So we're playing late at night. Mm-hmm. I don't have too much opportunity to get into that much trouble because I'm on stage, right? Okay. This one gig we play, and we're playing from like 8 to 9. So that leaves the entire night open for stupid decisions.
You got from 9 to 1 now for stupid decisions, yeah.
Right, and so, man, I don't know everything that happened, but I know that there was plenty of opportunity for like arrests and issues.
Bad stuff.
Bad stuff. And so I wake up the next morning, not entirely sure how I got home, and my guitar is gone, and I don't know why, and so I'm spending all this time just pissed off at myself, like, how could I let this go so far to where I lose my bass guitar, my source of income, and it's not even mine. It's actually one that was borrowed, and it's this like high-end custom bass that I had borrowed for this one gig, and I spent the whole day just pissed off at myself. I'm never going to drink again. I'm not going to do this to myself. I finally come home, and my neighbor had put it on my balcony. Turns out it was at home the whole time.
Interesting.
Thank God. And I've got a million close calls like that where somehow like universe put it together, and like I'm okay, but the problem was right when I got home and I see that it's here and everything is fine, my first thought is like, awesome, let's party. Like this is cause for celebration. And that was the point of hold on.
It's like insanity. And I'm a recovering alcoholic, so I understand what you mean there. You kind of wake up and like, this is insanity. After we just went through this whole situation, like your mind just switches and you almost want to go back at it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, over and over. And it was finally just like one moment of clarity of hold on. Like, how many times do you want to do that? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that was really like a real rock bottom time there for me. And so my wife and I said, well, I can't run right now anyways because I'm injured, so let's figure out the nutrition thing. And even with all that running and a personal trainer and doing all the things the experts said would work, I only lost about 30 pounds.
Because at this point, I mean, you said you were over 250?
It was about, 235.
235.
Yeah.
So you lost about 30 pounds, which is solid. But, I mean, we know that nutrition is what really changes your body composition. So up until this point, you hadn't really dove into the nutrition yet.
Not much. I had read the literature on like what marathon runners should eat, right? And if you're training, when to eat and all these different things. But that's for people that were fit already, not for obese people trying to lose weight, right? And so even though I did what the experts said should work, it didn't work for me. And so that was a big lesson in just because the experts say it should work doesn't always mean it's the truth.
Sure.
Right? And I had to find what works for me, for my body. And we dive into nutrition and how to personalize that to me, right? Which foods work for me, which foods don't work for me, which ones are spiking inflammation or other issues. And I melted off 50 pounds with no counting calories, easily hitting. I was still overeating, but it was just quality.
But just changing some nutritional components and cleaning that up a bit.
Exactly.
And you said you melted off 50 pounds?
Yeah.
How long did that take you?
Oh gosh, less than a year.
Okay.
Yeah, just eat, and I swear I was eating 6 like full meals a day.
Okay.
Just massive amounts of food still.
Yep.
Because I hadn't figured out that relationship with food thing yet,
hadn't
you know.
really got that dialed in, but at least still making some progress. Mm-hmm. And at that point, were you continuing being, active in terms of running? Did you combine it, or did you stop completely and just focus on the nutrition?
I stopped mostly just because I was in so much pain.
Oh yeah.
Like I was injured for months because I didn't know how to fix
your
that.
joints, your knees.
Yeah, my knees in particular. Until I went and found a chiropractor that said, "Oh, this muscle isn't working, and this one's turned off, and if we shift this and that, and then all like the prehabilitation kind of things and injury prevention work." Mm-hmm. So I got way into that, so that way I could get back into activity. But it took a little time for that all to heal and for me to figure that out. And then I hurt my arms from playing too much guitar, and so I had tendonitis in both my arms. And in my ankles, I had Achilles tendonitis from running too much again. And just like, what are you doing, Osborne? And so that overconsumption thing kept rearing its head. But here we are, I figured it out for the most part. I'm not going to say I have life figured out, but
sure.
It was a lot of that. But once we figured out nutrition, it all melted off, and then figured out that if we can combine that with just proper health habits and looking just for optimal health, then the weight loss just showed up. Mm-hmm. Right.
So we'll talk about, I want to dive into like your mental shift, your identity shift, how that changed your life, inspired you to become a fitness coach and, create, find your total health. But before we do, I think there's a lot of value in terms of your story because, in my humble opinion, in my firm opinion, the real pandemic that we're going through right now is not the COVID-19 pandemic. And granted, certainly it's affected lives in a very negative way, so sensitive to that. But from a statistical perspective, obesity is the pandemic that continues to rear its ugly head. Nearly 50% of our population, according to CDC, is statistically obese. Nearly 3 million people die a year from this. And if you look at COVID-19 as an example, the most susceptible people, the ones who immune systems and also are obese, right? Mm-hmm. So, it's a huge problem, but also a huge opportunity, and especially with our audience who are interested in fitness and business and entrepreneurship, solving that issue. So I think it's really great to have you on the show, Rusty, for a wide variety of reasons. But really, to start, I want to kind of talk about that psychological change because, a lot of our audience are going to work with clients like used to be. Mm-hmm. So what was that like from a mental perspective? What were the highs and lows? What were the challenges? You had all the success, the weight melted off, but there was a lot more than that. So I'd love to hear from like the challenge perspective, how you process that mentally.
There's a lot that goes into it. And when we dig deep, especially now that I've worked with all these different clients on overcoming their obesity as well and all these issues, it's all in the back of the head. Like, we don't become obese just because the food is in front of us. We have to put it in our mouth ourselves, right? So it's entirely my fault that I was there. And
which is, good on you. because I feel like we live in a society today that has a lot of victim mentality, especially what's put out in the media. So to your point, at the end of the day, you had to come to the realization like, hey, it's my fault. The food's not just planting itself in the mouth. So how did you come to that realization? Was that like a sobering moment? Did you just have to man up? Did you read a book? Like, how did you come to that realization that was your fault, not anyone else's?
Man, I wish I knew that there was just one moment that kind of came to me, but it had been so many, I don't know, just this long journey of looking in the mirror and not liking myself. Like, what are you doing? You're an idiot. Of that over and over. And then eventually reading enough books and starting to listening to podcasts and starting to get this mindset. And I just called it brainwashing myself. I knew that the thoughts that were in my head on a regular basis weren't helping. And so I just was 24/7 in podcasts, books, anything I could read that was just better than the average. And I feel like that's been a lot of my life, is just escaping average. Like, how the hell do I get out of that? And so it was that continuous loop of like the Tom Billy's, Jocko Willings, even like Dean Graziosi was one of the first wealth books that I read, was one of his like Millionaire Handbook or something like that.
Totally.
But all these different things open up your mind to there's possibility, right? You are allowed to change and you're able to change. And that was really difficult because I'd been the same guy for so long. And I hadn't seen anyone around me making massive change either.
Which is tough. We were just talking about off film. You're kind of in this traveling circuit right now, and you thought you were going to continue that, and you still might, but you just connected with this awesome group of people in San Diego, and like your tribe, and from what we talked about, is like positivity, and they're going to be lifting you up. And to your point, you were in a rut where you weren't changing, and the people around you weren't changing, so that has a huge influence on you as well.
Massive influence. And I'm continually blown away by how much it matters the people that you're around. Continually blown away. And so that's why I surrounded my brain with all those podcasts and things, was to just get my brain surrounded by digital mentors.
Totally.
Right? And then the more that I fixed my body up a little bit more, and I started doing those like marathons, ultra marathons, I'm surrounded by people that are driven. People that move on a regular basis. They're saying like, hey, yeah, I know we just ran this ultra, but I want to go rock climbing right now. I brought my stuff. Do you want to go? Like, what's wrong with you? First of all, was my first thought, right? As a fat ass. But when you meet people like that think so radically different, it just opens your mind. And they're making plans the next week to go canyoneering or running another ultra in the Grand Canyon or surfing or free diving. And back home, it's, which bar are we going to go to next? Like, yeah, okay, I know we're eating lunch right now at this bar, but I know there's another one with a really great taco deal. Like, we should totally go after that. And that loop does not serve us, right? And so kind of bringing it back to what's the psychological shift is like, we have to realize that the circles that we're running in aren't necessarily helpful, whether it's the actual people around you or the thoughts that are going in your head. And so learning how to shift those is one of the most massive ways to transform someone's body, someone's fitness, someone's mindset. Like, all of that has to shift, whether it's in business or health.
Now, what would you say to our audience who's like, okay, they're passionate about fitness, they want to open their own, franchise or fitness business or Fit Body Bootcamp, wherever the case may be. They know they're going to be working with clients that are obese, but how do you bridge that gap from a mindset perspective? Like, how do you pour it into them? And you've been there, so I would love to, and I know our audience would love, just to kind of get some more granularity and even some pointers on how to really connect and really move these people.
Yeah, and this has been a massive point of my thinking for so long, because when I did lose all that weight, and I'm on stage still as a musician at that point, people would come up to me, our fans would come up to me like, oh my God, you're so skinny. Someone would be like, you're too skinny. And they're the ones getting drunk and eating McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
Like, hold back, guys.
What was your total transformation?
85 pounds.
Nice.
I lost 85 pounds, and then I've put on about 30 pounds of muscle since then.
Good for you.
And I went from like looking in the mirror and saying, this guy sucks, to like, I literally see myself in the mirror like, look at that.
Dude, it's
like,
funny.
See those? Those are, I made that.
After we were just connecting, I was like, dude, this guy's buys, and like, it's mind-blowing to me that you were, statistically obese. Good for you, man.
Thanks. And it's a lot of help. Shout out to my coach, Mike, over in Illinois. He's the one that helped me build these bad boys.
Nice.
But it's been a lot of work. Mainly, though, it's a lot of work in who we surround ourselves with. Like I said, if I didn't hire that trainer Mike, and he just knows how to program so much better than I do, then I wouldn't have built this.
Yep.
Like, I knew how to build back from absolute garbage to where I was, but I didn't know that next level. right? And so kind of coming back to what you said about how do we transform, how do we help people learn to transform too?
Yep.
When I would get off stage and people said, like, how did you do it? And I would break it down exactly how I did it. Like, here's the steps. Like, I fixed this in my nutrition. I followed this plan. Then I went on this walk. And it's just so easy. If you just do these different things, they'd be like, okay. And they drink a little more and say, I could never do that. And then they'd walk away. Like, I could never do that. And of course, if you say that, you're never going to do it.
Right.
Right? And some of the same ones would come up to me late after the gig, completely blacked out, just like crying to me how they can't give up alcohol. Right? And so the pain is still there. They want to change, but they consciously aren't letting it happen. So the way that we help people change, the way that I've found, is not by telling them that I'm the best at helping people lose weight, not that I have the best tools. It comes down to literally sales skills is what I found, sales and marketing.
So elaborate.
I mean, because it's influence at the end of the day, right? The best way to influence is be the person that you want to help them be.
Totally.
Right? And you're going to attract the people that want to be like you, which is amazing and unbelievable, right? To have that opportunity that people want to be more like me. That blows my mind because I think I suck sometimes, right? As we all can,
But we all do, right?
Right. But that's step one. But then if you want to help people, they have to be invested into it with their time, their energy, their money, all this. And so, especially if someone wants to open up a gym, right? Or get into coaching. If you can't convert them from a lead to a sale, they're going to stay in their hell, stay in their prison for how much longer, and potentially work with someone who's way worse than you, right? Someone who will tell them the tricks to lose the extra 5 pounds of body fat instead of the 80 pounds that they have to lose. Those are two very different sets of skills, right? And so by learning how to have a sales conversation, essentially, which is just, sales is just an organized way of communicating, is the way I see it. Right?
Can you elaborate a little bit more? I consider myself a sales guy. I, came up with influence in my first careers in sales, and now I don't have a proper sales title, but I'm here influencing and really selling. And I think, to many extent, everyone's always selling, right? But I never actually heard it from that framework, a way to organize a conversation. So can you elaborate there?
Absolutely. We're selling people constantly, like you said. Everything is selling, and we're consistently saying, okay, I want you to do this thing. I have to sell you on that.
Right.
When I got engaged to my wife, I had to sell her on that.
You had to do a good sales job.
Yeah. And of course, I get on one knee. She's like, no, I'm like, wrong word. So I had to ask for the close twice, right? So
persistence and the fortunes and the follow-up, my friend.
Exactly. And so, and when you're coaching people, you're selling them on what's the next action step to take. Right? And so I'm organizing my coaching presentations or my coaching calls with people on, even if they've already paid me, okay, here's the result that we want them to take that they even said they want to take. I have to influence them to actually take those actions. Right? So the more that I learn to sell up front and get them in the front door, then I have to sell them on each subsequent action, have to sell them on themselves throughout the whole process, because you hit plateaus, you hit hard roadblocks and hurdles throughout the process.
Well, Rusty, it's so funny that you just said that you have to sell them on themselves. And what I always teach our owners and our coaches is, many times in my experience, it's not that the client doesn't actually think the program's going to work. A lot of times they just don't think it's going to work for them. Whatever's in their head, their self-limiting beliefs, maybe they tried, this weight loss potion, this gadget, and they just didn't, have success. So it's not they don't believe your program will work, they don't believe it's going to work for them. So, really empowering them that, hey, you can do this. Part of being coaching from my perspective is part cheerleader, because you need to be able to encourage them, but also part, chief feedback officer, because you got to, have hard conversations and many times tell people what they don't want to hear, but what they need to hear in order to get that result. Exactly. And that, especially when you can bring that mindset into a sales conversation, someone just walks into your gym or just hops on the phone with you for the first time. Actually, I've been working with Craig Ballantyne for a while, right? And selling with him. Which, by the way, dear friend of us both, and he's been on the show before. So if you guys are watching out there, link that in the show notes.
And he owns a couple Fit Bodies too.
He does, yeah. Yeah. So continue on.
Yeah. So one thing that he told me, because I'm still on my journey, right, learning all this stuff, and I've got this innate need to be liked. I just want people to like me. So that's probably why I was on stage all the time, right? But he said, when you give up the need to be liked, people will love you. So true. And once I embodied that in the sales conversations, closing percentage jumped up, because I wasn't afraid to just say, like, look, man, like, I understand that you've gone through this, and that, and you told me that you know that this has been an issue for years, but you just have gotten complacent and haven't done anything. What's holding you back?
Yeah, what's the delta here?
And when you ask those deepest, darkest questions that people don't ask on a regular basis, that's when they say, oh, wow, they have to reflect, right? They have to actually take that moment to sit back and think, why haven't I fixed this? Like, legitimately, why haven't I? Not I don't have time, my wife is keeping me busy, or my kids are too much, whatever that is, or the job is too much. Like, no, really, we know those are excuses. Some of them are more valid than others on occasion, but at the end of the day, it's still an excuse.
There's still excuses. And at the end of the day, like, you can have excuses or success. And that, what I think for me is the hardest part of coaching, because you do have to at times be sympathetic and be their cheerleader, but there's many times as a coach, as a good coach for that matter, you got to call people on their bullshit, you know, and that's really what it is. It's, you know, these self-limiting beliefs, and you got to, like, literally just, you know, say it how it is to get them to move and to, you know, get them the result they're looking for.
100%, 100%. And it's so, I mean, it's not comfortable.
No.
Right? It's not comfortable. And it's not comfortable to lose 85 pounds.
No.
Right? It's not comfortable to start a business.
But it's also not comfortable to have 85 pounds in your body. So it's ultimately, like in life, it's like you got to choose your hard, you got to choose your comfort, because it's going to be uncomfortable and comfortable, and you got to pick your poison on what's first. And it's your job as a coach to be able to instill and have them pick hard first, so then it becomes easier.
Right. And that's something that I tell my clients all the time is, like, you didn't sign up with me for an easy time here, right? You signed up for change. And when they're having a rough time, I just remind them of that. Like, do you want this change? I know you do, right? And I'll ask them essentially sales questions to get them back on board with the change that they saw in themselves when they enrolled, right? And that's the kind of thing where sales is so critical every step of the way. And sales is leadership too, when you can sell the people working for you on your vision and on the next steps that you want them to take and why it's so important, and get them enthused about being in Instagram DMs all day, right?
Well, and it's interesting because I alluded to it, but not really articulate the way you did, because right now what I said earlier is I'm still in the sales role. I'm just not getting someone to sign a membership agreement or franchise deal, but I'm selling it, influence my team to get behind me in the vision, so that way we can execute and really, inspire fitness and change lives, which is our mission at Fit Body Bootcamp. So you are always selling.
Always, always. There's another thought that I had on this. Speaking of, organized communication is just the way that I think of selling.
Organized communication,
right? Because and my conversations when I was younger would just be all over the place, right? So I needed organization. So this helps so much. I heard Alex Hormozi say, "If you don't script, you don't care." And I started thinking of that in all these different options. And so, like, we're here on a podcast, we have things that we want to hit. Like, there's a framework, there's essentially a script, there's conversation that flows from that, right? When you're in a sales conversation, it's scripted as far as a lot of the questions and the flow that you're going to go through.
Yeah, I mean, you have to make it personal, you have to be conversational, but you have to have a framework and a script to be successful, for sure.
Exactly. And so whenever I think of that, and when I'm leading either my assistants or even when I'm talking to my wife, sometimes it's like, okay, I need to make sure I have at least some plan for what I'm going to say and why. I think there's value in just babbling too, just to get your brain empty. But in general, when we want to influence people, like, let's come in with a plan and have that organized communication of, hey, here's the problem that we currently have, and it's causing these issues, and here's how I want to solve it, right? And when you can walk someone through with just a really simple framework like that, a problem, agitate, solve, it just simplifies and streamlines so much communication and results in life.
Yeah, and that agitate problem, it is uncomfortable, but that's actually a sign of a true influencer, true salesperson, when they can address the problem, agitate it, because a lot of times people, and this is what we teach on our franchise, people mask their pain, right? There's two types of people who do not mask their pain. It's little kids and old people. They will tell you exactly what they think. But aside from that, it's just condition of being human. As we grow older, we mask our pain. You could have the worst day ever, but you meet someone on the street, hey, how are you? You're like, oh, great. No, you're not great, but people do mask that. So in a sales particular situation, it's your job as a coach, as an influencer, to be able to, take their pain points, agitate them, unmask their pain, really get them to sit in it, so therefore you can position yourself, as a solution and then solve their problem.
Exactly.
Before we go any further, just to kind of take a step back, because we went through your incredible transformation. So good on you, man. Like,
Thank you.
congratulations.
I
That's
appreciate
incredible. So you kind of, went through that process. Then you kind of had an aha moment. You started a fitness business, your own coaching business, Find Your Total Health.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that, and then kind of the transition to what you're doing with Craig and his team and coaching and sales, which we've kind of hit already, but I want to kind of provide some framework in that transition. So after you got healthy and fit, talk us through, opening Find Your Total Health and kind of what the coaching program has been.
Yeah. So when after I lost all this weight and I got into all these different modalities of health, right, I decided to get into fasting, and I did a 5-day water fast, thinking that it was a good idea. It was just really hard. It was really hard. And one thing that happens with these fasts is you get in much more in touch spiritually, which I didn't know until I did this fast. And so one day it just hit me like, boom, start a business. Like, you need to help people. It was like God yelled into my brain. I'm just like, go.
You got downloaded.
Yeah, just a straight, I'd never had such an intense, direct download of, you must start this now. And so that's where it started, was literally from, I lost all this weight and I knew there was people that needed help, and they weren't changing just by me saying, hey, here's what I did. And so I needed to start something. And from there, I just went online and just I'm a coach now, who wants help? And I got a couple people to call me right from there, which was awesome. My first blunt post, day one. But that's where it started. But then it was just failure after failure. They're not always following through because I was charging hardly any money, and because they need to be invested in this. And a couple of them did put in the work, even though there was only $40 a month or something like that. So through that ended up just iterations of, should I go with this coach or should I read this book? And I'm doing as much as I can, but it's growing so slow. Eventually I get with Xander Fryer and High Impact Coaching.
Oh yeah, just talked to him today. So
no way.
Yeah.
Oh, he's great.
Good dude.
Yeah, he's my man. And so I owe him a lot, because he took me from an infant entrepreneurially to here's how business works. Because I was brand new. I went from just playing music full time, and I knew how to eat, drink, and play and sing. That's what I could do.
Fun time.
Yeah, it was a fun time, and the entertainment aspect transferred over to the content that I make, but about nothing else really transferred over. So he really escorted me through a lot of that process to the point where we were making money, which is amazing, and then making enough money that we could sell all our stuff and leave. And so I do like to say homeless because I think it's funny, but but we're homeless by choice.
Homeless by choice.
Yeah, we'll stay in a couple months here, a couple months there, and just continue to build ourselves and travel, enjoy the world. And the issue was, though, when you're traveling a lot, it's also hard to build a business at a high level.
Totally.
Right, and you're not surrounded by people that are also doing that. Coming back to that idea. So while I knew that we could keep going down that route, we were making enough, I knew that there was such another level of life that I could get to. And we were having a really rough day, actually. There was a little rock bottom moment in this, too. Where,
please, yeah.
Yeah. And
we were talking off line, which we both know, being in this industry. It's great to talk about your weight loss success, starting businesses, being an awesome closer for Craig. But there's the most value in what really our audience connects with is the trials and tribulations. Because guess what, life is just real with those. So you can share a little bit about that.
Yeah, one guy actually, I was on a call with another entrepreneur friend of mine that he's having a rough time this week, and I just told him all the stuff I sucked at. And he's like, you're the most inspiring loser I've ever met. There we go.
You made it in life.
I'm getting a shirt made. That's perfect. So we were our clients get results, and I know we did good work, but we just weren't pulling in clients a lot at the level that I wanted to. Right? Of course, as a business owner, that's what everybody says, right? But we're traveling through Wyoming, South Dakota, Utah. We end up down in Bryce Canyon area, the town called Panguitch, and this whole summer had just been stupid hot.
Okay.
And we're literally camping in our van because that was the dream. We're going to be in the van, and I've got my tent set up, and the issue is there's biting flies, it's stupid hot, my computer's overheating while I'm trying to run a business, so you're frustrated, and then because you're at a campsite, routines just don't work as well, and all this was just thrown off to the point where Nikki and I, my wife, we're sitting in the van just I know this works as far as the results that we get, but if they were, I know they're good because we've had people lose 100+ pounds.
You're talking about the results that the clients in the
get.
Coaching business get.
Right,
Yeah.
and I know that we have the tools to run a business, but it's still not working. at the level we needed to. It was like hitting our head up against a wall over and over, over and over, over and over, until we're just like sweating, laying in the van, just like, should we get a job? And that sucks. As an entrepreneur, like that is not the things you want to hear from your wife.
And I mean, to clear the air, I think we've all felt that. If, if you're an entrepreneur watching this, at some point you're going to have a bad day, bad weeks, bad months, and you start second guessing yourself. But that's really why it's important to ground yourself to your why.
100%. And it's still like, I'm almost crying right now thinking about it, because I don't want to tell people that I'm not a success right now, or whatever. But coming back to that why, I know that my 80-year vision is like, obesity will be over on this planet.
Let's go.
It's going to be gone.
Let's go.
Right? I know that in 80 years of really practicing sales, influence, leadership, learning people, learning how they change, learning all these issues, that we can fix this.
We can.
Right? And so if I spend 10 years of just selling, right? Just selling, even if it's not for my own program, like, there's so much potential, right? So my program isn't like gone, right? I'm still coaching and I'm still loving it. We're still enrolling clients, but we're not pushing it at 110, pedal to the metal.
Okay.
Because when we decided to take the pedal off the metal, suddenly people said, hey, Craig needs someone to sell. I'm like, well, shit, I worked a lot on that. Like, let's see what it's about. And I just got like sucked into this in the best way. It was like, it literally felt like I got pulled in. It was just so like effortless flow. And now I'm in my zone of genius.
It's kind of a pull, not a push.
Yeah. Yeah, literally. It was like I've been smacking my head on this brick wall forever.
You've been pushing.
And then I just took a step back, one step to the right. And,
cool.
And now I feel like I'm the most successful I've ever been, because I'm in my zone of genius nonstop. I'm on sales calls all day, every day, which is the most transformational conversation that most people have, is in one of these calls.
Totally.
They're deciding to shift from being an okay entrepreneur to like really honing in on how to crush it. Getting their success habits and discipline in place. And I'll still do sales calls for my business, which is amazing to see someone go from like hating themselves to believing in themselves enough to try.
Yeah, it's wild.
One
thing that I want to hit on, you just mentioned discipline. So, Rusty, we took a look back at your story of being obese, losing nearly 100 pounds, changing your life, starting a coaching business, dialing in now with the new opportunity with Craig and his team, doing sales and marketing. But one bullet point that I really want to hit on is discipline, the value of. So can you just talk to our audience a little about that?
Discipline is freedom, right? Jocko Willing.
Yes, sir.
It's critical, absolute critical. And focus. I've got focus tattooed right here because I need it. Like, we need focus and discipline.
Yes, sir.
Always. Because willpower is a finite resource.
Finite.
Absolutely finite. Like, if you walk by the bowl of cookies enough times, you're going to dig in.
Totally. If it's in your house, you are eating it. Bottom line.
Quick side story. I was playing a wedding up in Northern California, and it's after my transformation. I'm the health guy. Like, I'm the healthiest guy you've ever met, man. But there's a pile of gourmet donuts between the stage and the bathroom.
It's gone.
Oh, dude.
Yep.
I was fine for most of it, and then one of the guitarists was with me, and he's like, do you want like just one bite? Like, do you think that'll help?
Yeah. I
had 7 donuts on stage, cramming it in my mouth in between lines that I'm singing. Like, I was off the deep end. Like, wow. So willpower, so finite. But with discipline, right, with discipline and rules that work for you, generally speaking, that one fell off a little bit because that was a willpower issue. But with discipline and habits that you can build in, success routines and rituals, you build a life that's set up for success. I knew that I had the discipline in my house where no junk food crosses the threshold. Like, it's not allowed past the front door.
Yeah, that's the only way to be.
Yeah,
because otherwise, if it's coming in, it's getting eaten.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's a number one discipline. Like, I move every day. Discipline. It's a rule. It must happen, no matter what. And because of those couple rules, and like, I prioritize my sleep because it's really important. Because of those rules, like, I melted off all this fat and I kept it off for years.
Good for you.
Thanks. And it's discipline. I worked my ass off, right? I chose that version of hard instead of, being fat, because that's really hard too. And then when it comes to business and learning sales and marketing and doing all this, that's discipline too. Every morning I got to wake up, do my follow-ups and my prospecting kind of things, right? I've got to do my sharpening the axe, where I'm watching sales videos or learning trainings or reciting pieces of a script or objection handling things, right? I'm in all these different disciplines in order to get the success I'm looking for.
Yeah, well, I love it. I love Jocko's terminology, discipline equals freedom, because I live by that. In fact, Rusty, one of our core values, actually we have 3 at FitBody, but one of them is be relentlessly disciplined. In our understanding, our vision for it is, at the end of the day, fitness, it's pretty simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. And what bridges the gap? Because if you ask the average person on the street, should I sit on the couch and eat donuts, or should I go run and eat a lean, piece of chicken and salad? In order to be healthy, they're going to say, get your butt moving and eat that salad with some protein. But there's the delta of actually making that happen. And for me and for our organization, really what we believe in is that it's the discipline is really that linchpin, and certainly coaching, sales, persuasion all help with that, when you're coaching your clients through. But really at its core, that's what it is, and that's really why I wanted to spend at least a few minutes kind of talking about it and really getting your insights around it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've built a handful of skills over my life that I'm really proud of now, right? So being a musician, I was very disciplined. I sat for hours a day honing my craft, learning to play, learning to sing, learning all these different things so I could just be the best that I could. And I learned to surf. I was garbage at it. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the beach damn near every day. Let's see what happens. And now, I was surfing the other day, and I put the toes of on the edge of my board, and that was oh my God, what? Oh my God, this is crazy.
Awesome.
Just these disciplines of just do the damn thing, right? Don't over-optimize. Sometimes done is better than good, right? Let's just get in and make it a rule, a discipline that has to happen all the time, right? With those, it develops such freedom. Now, I've got physical freedom. My body works amazingly. I love the way it looks. I have that because of physical disciplines. And money's growing. It's fantastic. It's because of financial disciplines, right? And skill building disciplines. And without that, you could have the best sales skills, but without the discipline to be the best you, right? It doesn't matter to me.
Because discipline really, it's the boring work. It's the work that just needs to get done day in and day out. While it's boring, that's actually what produces the results.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, over and over. And there's, especially with the boring stuff, the stuff you don't want to do, that's such an amazing opportunity. It's the best opportunity because you're sitting there I hate this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to make 40 cold calls right now, or whatever it's going to be.
Yep.
Or I don't want to make more Instagram content because it's just not what I want to do, or whatever. That's the spot where you get to sit and examine, okay, well, what's my why? What do I want? What do I want? Why do I want it? And if the next step to get there is something not sexy, right? Something that's not that fun to do, well, you can say, awesome, I'm going to go sit and eat donuts instead, or you're going to say, I'm going to man up and do the damn thing. And that is where you get the breakthroughs. That's where you get breakthroughs after breakthroughs. And if you're talking law of attraction manifestation stuff, which I'm into the woo-woo, I think it's fun.
Yeah, me too.
It makes entrepreneurship so much easier too, because you realize that when you pass a test of, I don't want to do this damn thing, but I'm going to show the universe that I'm worth doing this for, you get the results. Different results pour in that you didn't even work for sometimes, just as a result of you pushing through that thing, right? Just passing that test.
Love it.
So,
dude, man, powerful. Good for you.
Thanks.
Well, I want to be respectful of your time, but I still have some questions in our lightning round as we transition.
Bring it. Let's go.
We went through your transformation, your mindset, your discipline, sales, and marketing that really are just foundational, skills to run a business, to have a transformation, to get a coach, or to start a coaching business, right? But now I want to tap into the lightning round, the backstory a little bit, and I want to kick it off with, I love this question, and it's a vulnerable question, if you will, but looking back, at the younger Rusty, okay? What was one of the biggest things in your life holding you back, and how'd you overcome that?
Yeah, one of the biggest things was my attachment to the people around me, I think. And I absolutely love all the people that have been around me in my life. And what they wanted for their life was different than what I wanted. And I sat and followed their path for too long. And I absolutely love them. I still want to see all my family, my friends. They were so integral in me growing up. But at the same time, I was so mad at myself for years that I wasn't more successful, that I didn't start this journey earlier of health or of business. And it was because, but they want to go to the bar, and I want them to like me, so I want to go to the bar with them. And so what held me back was me just staying attached to that story instead of manning up and going for it. Because once I made the shift, that they did. Like my family as a whole has lost like over 500 pounds.
Good for you.
And it's like, and I'm freaking proud of that. So I'm going to keep screaming that.
Heck yeah, man. It's funny. It's interesting you say that. I say, and this is like from the most humble place ever, but I say I have the Bryce effect. And what I mean by that is when I moved to Brazil, my Brazilian family, they were, they literally lost not 500 pounds, but collectively 100 pounds just because of the environment and like my mindset around what. And that's the value of like leadership and influence. So good on you, man. That's half 1,000 pounds. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's I mean, and it's amazing to see that it literally just came from, I didn't even change hanging out with them. They were still there. I just decided to be different.
Your work.
Yeah. So I didn't leave them,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah.
It was my attachment. Like I said, that's what's holding me back was my attachment to needing them to like me, right? Once I just went for it and did it my way, then they followed suit.
The Rusty effect. Buddy.
The Rusty effect. I'll take it.
Love it.
I love that.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you being vulnerable there. Next up, you now are in the business of giving incredible advice as a coach and a closer. What would you say is one of the best pieces of advice you've ever received, and why?
I'd say it's from a really classic movie, Frozen 2. And
Nice.
Just so much gold in that movie. And so there's one song, Just Do the Next Right Thing. Just do the next right thing. Like, there's so many times we get overwhelmed because there's so much to do.
So
I got to make content. I got to generate leads. I got to get on sales because I got to actually deliver the coaching. And the toilet's broken. And like, I still have laundry to do. And like, okay, what's just the next one? Because once you just take that next step, the step after that always reveals itself. Mm-hmm. It's like you plug in your destination on GPS. Okay, where do I want to go? Why do I want to go there? Those are the two questions I always ask first. And then just what's the next step? Mm-hmm. I don't have to worry because the GPS is going to say turn left on this avenue. Mm-hmm. Okay, turn right on this one. And eventually, I'm going to get there.
You'll get there.
You know, so just do the next right thing. You know, that's probably the best advice that I've ever gotten.
And even in the frozen voice, I love it, buddy. Bringing a lot of color to the podcast today, which I appreciate. All right, next up, habits. They're foundational, you know, success in business and life and fitness. What has been a big habit of yours that you've acquired over the years that's really led to your success?
Reflection. So on a daily basis, multiple times a day, sitting back and reflecting on how did I perform over this last, like if I'm working for 2 hours first thing in the morning, then I take a break. Okay, did I do okay? Was I distracted? Was I inefficient? Or was I really focused and productive? And when you reflect multiple times a day and then each week, reflecting back on how's my performance or how did I do in every area of my life that week? And then over each month, every year, whatever it is, the more that you reflect, then you can look back and say, oh, this worked, that didn't work. Mm-hmm. So let's not do that one again. Mm-hmm. Like I had been doing when I was overdrinking, right? I didn't reflect on how much it sucked. I just kept doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you set sail from one port to another one, if you're 1 degree off, you could end up
far away.
Quite far.
Yeah.
So this is just continually reorienting your compass to say, oh yeah, that's right. I wanted to go here, but I'm 1 degree over. So let's continually hone that in.
And that's the art of reflection. And I'm a huge believer and a philosopher, if you will, which sounds funny, but in Stoicism and Stoic philosophy. And there's a lot of core principles, but one of them is reflection. Like take inventory of your day. Okay, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then how can we course correct and make it better? So kindred spirits, my friend.
Yes.
Next up, I'm a firm believer that leaders are readers, and you certainly are a leader. Can you give our audience a really good book recommendation that will help them on their journey?
I'm going to go the spiritual route this time.
Go for it.
So, The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. And I've built my philosophy around like 3 different things. So one of them is just do the next right thing. But that normally comes after you have to surrender sometimes to what's going on in life.
Mm-hmm. As a recovering alcoholic, sometimes when things are bigger than you, you have to surrender.
Yeah. I was driving here and there was just crazy traffic. It just kept building and building and building and building. And I wanted to fight it, but you can't fight traffic.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It said that I was going to get here like half an hour late and I'd left half an hour early. I'm like, what? And eventually at some point I'm like, okay, surrender. This is the way it's going to be. I'll get there when I get there. And then suddenly the ETA starts getting earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier.
And
it was like,
early.
It was on the dot when I surrendered to this is just the way life is, like I'm going to just chill and enjoy the drive, then I got here way early.
Yeah.
So surrender, do the next right thing.
Way easier said than done, but will change your life if you let it. So, Rusty, dude, this has been awesome. My last question for you in the hot seat in the lightning round, and you've provided so much value, so I want to thank you, acknowledge you for that. What would your best piece of parting wisdom be to our audience who are interested in fitness and business and entrepreneurship that will help them on their journey?
I'm going to go ahead and round out, because I mentioned there was 3 things that I kind of build my life philosophy around. So surrender. And then the second piece is full ass everything. Like, yeah, surrender. Like, the universe is going to throw stuff at you. Like, shit happens. Toilets break. People quit. You know, like,
it's life.
Yeah, customers get pissed on occasion. Like, that happens. Surrender to it. Accept that that's the facts right now. And then do everything in your power that you should be doing. Right? If the universe hands you this opportunity, you go. You just go. When you asked me to be on the podcast, I didn't think for a moment. I was just like, yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, opportunity's here. I got to full ass this. Like, I got to full ass everything. Don't half ass it. You know, so surrender. Full ass everything, and then just do the next right thing. So, there it is.
My friend Rusty, dude, this has been awesome. Really appreciate you. And before we sign off, I want to give you the opportunity so our audience can connect with you. Where's the best place they can?
Yeah, on Instagram, thecoachrusty is where you can find me, and that's the main hub. And if you need help with literally anything, ask. Like, I've got so many connections of people that help with health, people that help with fitness franchises, right? Or other business things, discipline, relationships. Whenever you just need help, like, just ask. So that's my big thing. I don't even care if you're asking for my help, right? I just want you to ask. So you can, the Coach Rusty on Instagram, and my email address is thecoachrusty@gmail. I don't care. Shoot me an email. Ask for help. I'm here for you.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
Dude, man, I want to thank you so much. I want to acknowledge you before you go. It was awesome being on your show end of last year. And one of the things I admire about you is just the way you show up, like your energy, your enthusiasm, your story, your vulnerability. And it's really comforting and really inspiring at the same time. And I appreciate the way you show up. You've added a ton of value to our audience, and I just want to thank you for being on the show. And man, we are kindred spirits battling this obesity pandemic together, and couldn't thank you more.
Bryce, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, brother.
You got it. All right, friends, I know you got a ton of value, and assuming that you did, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube, and write us an awesome review on iTunes. That way we can keep producing this content for you for free. And that's all for today. See you in the next episode.